Hello and welcome to episode 152 of Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. My guest, and I'm so excited, is Russianvids. I'm a longtime subscriber and I deeply appreciate his work. I go there for information and entertainment, sometimes at the same time. He is fully dedicated to exposing truth from hoax events to media deception, truth hidden in movies and music, NASA and SpaceX fraud, plus the flat earth and transvestigations. And he keeps us informed so much. And it's just such a pleasure to have him here. On a personal note, RV loves animals as I do. And he has 6 turtles and 5 cats. And 3 of his turtles are used as the thumbnail photo on this video. And I interviewed RV a long time ago with DITRH back in February 2016 on a podcast on a network that doesn't exist anymore. But the podcast was called Truth is Stranger Than Lies. And in the description box of this video, not only have I linked RV's 2 YouTube channels, I linked the old interview, if you missed it, from Truth is Stranger Than Lies from February 2016. Anyway, without further ado, may I present to you Russianvids. Hello.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Patricia. Much appreciated.
You know, because I comment on all of your videos, I really love what you do. And there's something about you as a truth seeker that makes me not just follow you because I like the information that you put out, although I don't agree with all of it. I like you as a person. You show, although you don't show your face, who you are as a man in just the little things that you say. We find out about your love for your turtles and Dinky the turtle. By following your channel, we get to know a little bit about you as a human being, and that adds that personal touch. So I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, you know, we all have that human side, of course, and you know, I'm an animal lover, and the turtles and the cats, specifically the turtles, the cats. You know, a lot of people have cats. You know, people have cat videos all the time, but turtles not so much. So I like to spotlight the turtles a lot, you know. And as far as, you know, people saying, oh, we never see you, you know, it's like Barack Obama, you know where he lives. You know, he used to live in the White House. So that must mean he's legit because we know where he lives. He shows his face. He's legit. You know, it's not that simple, you know. It's just for what I do. I mean, everybody does it their own way. I mean, people put their faces out there. Then what happens when you put your face out there, they do a screenshot and they put a, you know, they do all the Photoshop, make fun of you and all that stuff. And for what I cover, I go really deep and I go extreme covering it all. And I like to keep, you know, a little bit of my private side as far as that's concerned. You know, if some people want to put their faces out there, you know, there could be repercussions for that, unfortunately. But I decided to do it my route. And the bottom line is, it doesn't matter how you look like, it's what you're saying. You know, and if you show your face and you're telling lies, what good does it do you? You know?
I agree with you completely. And I use my real name, although some people don't believe it's my real name, because Patricia at the end, they say, oh, that's truth hidden in plain sight. And my last name's Steere, meaning I'm steering people, but that is my given last name. So I use my real name and my face on camera, and still I'm called by a small group of people fake. So you know what I'm saying? I could have used a fake name and not used my face and would have been called fake as well. There's no way to win. I think each individual content provider has to make their own decision, and it's up to those who are viewing to either like them or leave them. So.
Well, it's like this, Patricia. I'll just say this. So you show your face and you're still a shill. I don't show my face and I'm a shill. Right. So whatever you do, they're going to call you a shill no matter what you do. It's like this. A lot of people think they are closer to the truth than a lot of people making videos. So there's a lot of ego involved in the so-called truth movement. So I know more. This person has X amount of subs, and therefore they must be a shill. You know, it's just a lot of ego. You know, especially with smaller channels. You know, they only have say 500 subs or 1,000 subs, and I have say, for example, 70 on one channel, 50 on another, 50,000 on another. Well, again, why does he have so many subs? He must be a shill. That type of thing. So there's a lot of jealousy and a lot of ego, and a lot of people that are just paranoid and thinking, you know, it doesn't matter what information you put out, no matter how close it is to the truth, you're still a shill. So you can't win with certain people, and you're not going to make everybody happy. And also, as your popularity rises, the amount of haters will rise too on the left. So you know, the both sides are going to go up. Your popularity goes up, and the amount of haters go up. So that's just part of the deal.
When you get people making expose videos about you, or, you know, he's a shill videos, does it make you feel mad, absolutely nothing, or actually slightly pleased because you get the most flack when you're over the target?
Well, a little bit of everything, I think. You know, the bottom line is if one of these so-called truth channels that doesn't have many subs makes a video on me, they automatically get more hits. They're going to get more views, you know? So, you know, it's just, and, you know, a lot of times I know the game, you know, a lot of them, they want you to respond, and it gives them more spotlight on their channel. But some things are so outrageous, you just gotta point them out. I try not to spend too much time pointing it out. Just make a quick video and be done and move on. I'm not going to be going back and forth, constantly back and forth, making, you know, basically having a debate with this person over and over, making video after video with this person. Just make one, done, and move on. And that's how I do it. Yeah. But again, you know, like I said, these are the same people that, you know, that steal your work. They'll take it as their own and claim it's theirs and all this, but obviously they have no evidence. And obviously, you know, a lot of people, like I said, they're just basically, they feel like they're like little babies in the corner in a room. They're not getting attention. So if they make a video, there's like 50 hits or 100 hits. But once they make a video, say on someone like me, all of a sudden they get all kinds of hits. So that's why they do what they do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Even I'm a way smaller channel than you, but people put my name in the title of their videos. And I know it's just to get hits. And as Nathan Oakley has said, thanks for the advert, meaning advertisement, because it really does, in the end, advertise for the person that they're trying to point the finger at. And yeah, they'll get hits, and hey, they're welcome to it. That's fine, whatever.
Yeah, part of the deal. Listen, Patricia, this making videos is part of the deal. You're gonna have people out there that are gonna so-called. And this is the problem. You have these people that are so far from the truth, and they're not sure where to look. And once someone makes a so-called expose video, oh, that must be the truth. This, you know, why would they make a video doing this unless it was true what they're saying? So people automatically, there's a certain percentage that automatically believe, oh, this guy, he's an agent because this person made a video stating he's an agent. But it's all weak. You know, it's ridiculous. I mean, again, you know, it's just part of the deal. Show me one so-called truth channel out there that doesn't have a video being made on them. It's calling them a shill. There's absolutely none. There's not a single one where they're not being, you know, spotlighted as a so-called shill. Not one.
It's true. There's channels, people I know who have less than 1,000 subscribers who've been called a shill too. So, I mean, it doesn't matter your sub count. If you are talking about the truth, somebody out there who has less subscribers than you or is angry or jealous for some reason is going to call you a shill. It's just,
I never had someone that had more subs than me call me out as a shill. Not a single time. They're always just low count, you know, people out there that make, honestly, their video production's horrible. You know, they'll just, you know, for example, one person called me a shill, and they're basically recording, you know, they're doing a video on 9/11. They're recording everything off, you know, their TV, and so I don't have the resources to do like other people. I'm like, just people like this that make poor quality videos, and again, they're not getting the attention, so they gotta. This is the way to draw attention to themselves. I don't want to sound like a broken record, beating a dead horse, but this is what they're doing.
All right. Well, we've cleared up the shilling in Flat Earth and the people who are accused of being shills who really aren't. So that's one thing. A lot of people are wondering a little bit about you, and although you don't use your name or reveal your face, you do say that you live in the Bay Area, and I know you're born and raised there.
Yes.
How did you get involved in the first place in seeking truth? How far back does this go for you?
Well, I mentioned it, you know, several times on my podcast that basically when I was younger, I never was one to follow the crowd. Growing up, you know, in grade school, you know, everybody followed trends, you know, the break dancing, the Spuds MacKenzie, all the kids wore the Spuds MacKenzie shirts. That's to do with the beer commercial. And, you know, I just was never a follower. What everybody else is doing, I'm like, you know, I'm just not going to do what everybody's doing because everybody else is doing it. And not to get too far off topic, but you know, someone is a so-called sheep whenever there's a new trend or a new saying, like right now it's triggered. This person's triggered. I don't copy what people say. When I read or see or hear people copying familiar trends, and these are the people that are so-called awake, they're just still following the crowd. They have to say what everybody else is saying. Like, oh, that was epic. Like a couple years ago, epic was the big term. Those, you can spot people doing the ice bucket challenge and the mannequin challenge. These are the people that are so-called true, they're still stuck, and following the crowd. And I don't
Yeah.
do that. I don't do that. But getting back to the question, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just laughing because of the word triggered. We've never talked about this because we've talked off air before. That word, whenever I hear it, I'm like, I want to tear my hair out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, and I roll my eyes. But getting back to when I first, was awakened to truth at a very early age, I saw the politicians speaking on TV, and I knew they weren't legit. I say all the time when I was younger, in grade school, is this really the best we can do as far as a presence and leaders for our country? The way they speak, the way they talk, it's nothing real about them. So I'm a very good judge on when I'm talking to someone, or when I see someone on TV, I can tell if they're fake or if they're not. And so the bottom line is, to progress, I didn't realize how deep the deception went. I knew politicians were phonies and fakes, but taking a look at news stories, and over the years, like, for example, getting caught up in the O.J. Simpson case and all these trials over the years, the Mendez brothers, you sort of, well, we know the politicians are crooked in the news, there's a lot of lies, but we didn't know how far it went until, after 9/11. After 9/11 happened, I started digging deeper. I'm like, wait, is this the only real deception taking place? I started looking at the so-called Atlanta bombing, the O.J. Simpson trial, and a lot of other events to pick them apart. And I discovered a lot of things. See, while a lot of people were stuck on 9/11, I was covering a lot of events, like I mentioned in one of my previous videos, like the SFO plane crash. I was covering that. And people say, well, there's no agenda to it. Why would they do it? So it's void and know what you're saying. I'm like, no, I don't know why they're doing it, but I see fakery. Things do not add up. Things do not make sense. And I'm pointing out, why are they doing it? We don't know at the time, but after the fact, there have been so many plane crash hoaxes after that. So after that, after people saw more plane crash hoaxes, they started saying, wait a second, maybe he's onto something. Because my first video on that plane crash hoax at SFO, a lot of my subs are like, no, there's no agenda behind it. There's no reason. So there's not possible. But they didn't look at the evidence. They just already came to the conclusion there's no agenda behind it, so it must be a real plane crash. But again, as more plane crashes happened and people saw that they were fabricated, then they caught on. But being the first to point this out, when people first hear truth about anything, it's initially, of course, rejected. It's ridiculed, and later on, it's accepted. Truth takes time to digest. It's like a meal. A lot of people watch videos. Say, for example, it's 20 minutes long. They'll click on a video, they'll see the title, and they're already making comments. Oh, no, you're wrong, without even looking at the evidence.
Yeah, very true. And the thing about, your plane crash video, that you recently did a video about that old video that you did, and you can find it on your channel, linked below in the description box, by the way. Why they do it, when you really can't right away spot a reason. My reason, in my mind, I always think, is they're beta testing us. They're seeing how much we're going to buy, how much we're going to bite on whatever they're throwing our way. And then when they see the average public saying, oh yeah, that event really happened, then they can do an event like that in the future even bigger, or build even bigger, crazier things, because they know we're gullible. That could be it.
Very, very well stated, and very good point. And that's exactly what happened with the so-called Malaysian plane crash in the Indian Ocean, and of course over Ukraine, supposedly disappearing on radar at 33,000 feet, and everything that goes along with it. What people didn't understand is, TV news is like a movie. They're just editing everything together, just like NASA edits things together with the shuttle landings, everything else. And it's just a production with all these events, and the devil's in the details. And people, they're, like I said, they already have their minds made up, and they're already, again, no, I don't see an agenda behind it, so there's no reason for them to do it. So that means it was a real event. That's what it all comes down to. But you're right, absolutely. With the SFO plane crash, it's setting people up. It's setting people up, and that's exactly what happened with the Taiwanese plane crash as well. They had one at the New York airport as well. It wasn't such a big story, but supposedly a plane skid off the runway, and you could tell it was just nothing more than a drill. There's little psyops, and there's big psyops, and there's medium size. They have, they're running them all. It's just a test, like you said.
So I would imagine that you get accused of what they call auto hoaxing, which means, for those who don't know, immediately when an event comes out, just saying, yep, it's fake, it's fake. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. This is a funny thing, and I mentioned that in my previous video. Basically, it was me, Dave J, and Jungle Surfer. Even though Jungle Surfer and I, we don't see eye to eye. That guy, that's another story. But he has covered a lot of the hoaxes. We were the three that were known for calling these stories hoaxes. So again, people like, okay, we understand there are some hoaxes, but not everything's a hoax. But they don't understand. They are not going to spotlight real stories 24/7. You know it's a fabricated story when they start interviewing family members, a cousin, a best friend, and they're smiling. And people say, well, with these, for example, hoax shootings, wouldn't it be easier just to kill people? No, it's much easier to get the police, the media, the EMTs, everybody involved with a hoax event. Because, say, for example, you really kill someone, then guess what? You're going to have family members say, hey, you know what? I'm not quite sure. This might have been an inside job. So after they interview these Christ actors that they know what they're going to say before they say it, because they're given lines to say. So it's completely a safe environment for them to operate in with not actually killing people. And people do not get that point.
Do you think
you cannot really kill people? If you do, you're going to have family members that might say, hey, I saw this guy Russianvids on YouTube. He's saying this, this, and this about it. And, that's how it goes. You might have an issue with real family members speaking about real deaths. That's why they hoax these events. They don't kill people.
Do you think part of the reason they don't kill people is because even if they are horrible human beings, there's a level of morality they must attain in order to not pay, I'll use the word karmically, after they die?
Well, I don't know if that's, I think they just want the whole life system to be intact. So the so-called, people that, the people that watch TV, that believe the news, and the conspiracy theorists are deceived. So, for example, Alex Jones pushes 9/11 as everybody, it was, 3,000 people died, just like the official story. So, he's still, he's pointing it out as an inside job, but it's only partial truth. It was a government psychological operation, but he's not giving the whole truth. So it's keeping everybody, the so-called people, the so-called conspiracy theorists, and the people that watch mainstream news from the truth. They're both deceived. Both sides are deceived, and that's the point. And they're playing with us. It's like this. If they kill people or they don't, people are grieving like, let me back up here. If they don't kill people, people are still grieving like people really died. So people are, millions upon millions of people are brought sadness to them. Like Sandy Hook, all these people, believe it was a real event. And even so-called conspiracy theorists, a lot of them believe it was just, a false flag where people really died. So they're keeping a lot of people locked in this lie system, either way you go.
They also work on the self-policing of those of us who try to question any of these hoax narratives. When you speak up and say, wait, there were no children who died, automatically other people who are not involved in the cover-up, not involved in Sandy Hook, don't have children or family members involved, don't even live anywhere near New York, will say, how could you say that? How could you say that there's children involved? And they shame you into silence.
Well, the thing is, I find that pretty funny, because I know people in my personal life that believe the story. I asked them how many children died. They have a deer in the headlights look. I said, did you see the interview with the father the next day on CNN, where he comes out and he's basically smiling and laughing before coming to the mic? Do you know his name? They don't even know who that is. They don't even know that took place. So again, it's very easy to deceive people when they don't look into details. The people that don't look into these details, they're too busy. They work 9 to 5. They watch the news. They see a headline, kids were killed, and they go back to making dinner, doing laundry, and they have to go back, wake up and go back to their slave job 9 to 5. So they're just looking at the details. It's reported in the news. Why would they lie about this? It's real, and everybody else believes it. So, that's simply how it works. It's very easy to deceive people. It's very easy to fool people. And, it's like this, like anything else in this world. When everybody's going in a certain direction, people have to follow. People want to be liked and accepted in this world. People work so hard to be liked and accepted. The way they dress, their clothes, they want to buy the designer clothes. You can't wear a knockoff pair of shoes. You got to get the official brand. All this stuff. This is because you want to fit in society. So not to get too far off topic, but people just want to fit in and get along and not go against the grain. And this is part of it as well with these news stories.
I want to go into the live chat and say hello. And while I'm doing that, I do want to get to the fact that you've been doing some live shows such as this lately. It's a new thing in your channel. Tell us about that and how we can find out when your next one is going to be and be a part of it, be a part of the live audience.
Yes, absolutely. As my channel has grown, like I said, I have two. One has the 50,000 plus, other has 70,000. And this is the problem. I like that my channels are growing, but the problem is getting much more difficult to communicate with my subscribers. and I feel very bad about that. So this is why I started doing the podcast, because it's very hard when I'm being asked the same question day in and day out, 30 times the same question. And if you ignore, for example, you answer it once, you ignore the 29 people, they're going to get mad at you and say, and somebody unsub you. Oh, this guy doesn't care. Yeah, it's not that I don't care. It's just I can't sit here all day and answer the same question. So I open up the podcast, and I have them, each one, I had 2 so far. Each one were for 8 hours apiece to answer all the questions about the videos, any questions you might have. So instead of me sitting there just, typing away all day, answering all these questions, I plan to do these podcasts to answer all questions and everybody. Oh, there's your kitty. To answer all these questions.
Here he is. He's trying to jump up. This is Flynn.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so this is why I've done this, to open up to more people, and the people that maybe I missed questions, I can do my best to answer. But at the same time, even during my podcast, I'm getting questions coming in so fast, it's hard to answer as well. And I get a lot of the same questions over and over on the podcast. So over like an 8-hour period, I'm asked about, for example, David Icke about 7 times. But I understand not everybody's gonna be sitting there for the 8 hours. So there's new people coming in the 3rd or 4th hour that didn't hear the response. So I have to, respond to them. But so that's the best way for me to handle it in the future, is doing these podcasts. I'm gonna try to do them more often, specifically after a big news story and covering the questions. But I'm planning to do it on my main channel after April 9th. I'm going to have a strike removed. That's going to open up where I can do a live stream on my main channel with the 70,000 subs. And of course, I'm going to make a little announcement beforehand so people will be ready for it. But unfortunately, the way it is now, I have a 3rd channel that I just do my exclusive live streams from. And a lot of people are not subbed to that, so a lot of people missed it. So that's where we're at. So in the future, expect more podcast live streams.
Wonderful. Message me on Skype when you've got your next one. I want to be in the audience.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I'll share it too, so that, not that I have a much smaller channel than yours, but it doesn't matter. A smaller channel sharing a much larger channel's work will get more people interested. It's just the way it is. That's why I love sharing work of channels of every size.
Well, I'll tell you something, Patricia, and this is what I tell people all the time. There's a lot of these truth channels that just focus on one thing. Like, I know Mark Sargent, he basically focuses on the flat earth. I cover flat earth, the trans investigations, Hollywood, the music industry, Satanism, in the military, all the hoaxes and psyops of the world. So I'm getting subs from every angle. This is why my channel has grown and has been popular over the years, is I just don't focus on one thing. And it's not knocking anybody that just covers, for example, per se, one topic, even though they might branch out a little bit. But when there's a hot news story, I'm pretty much going to cover it. When it comes to a hoax or a psyop, of course, if I have the time, I'm going to hit it right away. Sometimes there's too many things going on. I can't do them all. But if there's a big story, I'm not going to avoid it. And people are ready to go to my channel and listen to what I have to say about it. So a lot of people, it's hard. Like I said, they just focus on one thing, and they can't juggle all these news stories. It's just too much to handle.
You're sort of the one-stop shopping for what's going on in the world, what's really going on in the world.
I don't want to be called like a Walmart when it comes to truth, but I try, but I try to cover, I try to cover different aspects, because a lot of things interest me. For example, flat earth, it comes to this point where if you cover flat earth so much, it becomes somewhat repetitive, and the only thing you do is wait for new information to come out. For example, a news story where Shaq's talking about it, even though he kind of backtracked, it's all part of it. That's part of the mind games they're playing. But, until something new comes out in the media, it becomes basically repetitive. Of course, you could cover new angles, like I did, for example, and I don't want to go on too long about this. For example, I talk about how you wear a watch, a wristwatch, or a clock on the wall. That's basically a representation of the flat earth. Just like how the center point, the centerpiece of a watch is basically controlling the 2 hands, which is the sun and the moon, just like the magnetic north on the world we live in controls the sun and the moon. So basically, our world operates just like a wristwatch. It's the same thing. And people have it, over the years, they have a wristwatch on their hand, on their wrist, and they don't realize it represents the world we live in, where again the magnetic north is controlling the sun and the moon, just like the middle of a wristwatch is being controlled by the center as well. Same exact principle.
And some people have made flat earth wristwatches, including, I believe, Amir, Insanity is Sanity.
Yes.
So,
yeah, I've seen that. That's awesome. But the connection of exactly how the center north controls it all. It's like this. Also, not to get too far off topic, it's like I see businesses called, like where I live, like the Pacific Rim, the outer rim, because that's what it is. It's the
Yes.
outer wall. It's like, even like in Star Wars, I mentioned how Lucasfilm, his logo is the flat earth. It's Lucasfilm. And you see underneath, it's that arch, and you see the dome and the sun and the moon underneath. And you get little clues, like in movies like The Empire Strikes Back, when Darth Vader he talks about the outer rim. We talked about the universe, the outer rim. It's like the end, and I find that very interesting. But that's what it all comes down to. When you look at a globe, it's just the flat Earth map wrapped around it, and people say, well, how are you gonna find the edge wherever you go? If you're in San Francisco and you just keep going west, you're gonna hit, of course, the ice wall. Whatever angle you go south, you're just gonna hit an ice wall, and they just wrapped around the globe. That's what it all comes down to. It's just wrapped around.
Even the TV show, The Outer Limits, maybe was a clue. You never know.
Well, like I said, you have your Stephen King's Under the Dome. You have The Simpsons with the dome, and Bart Simpson hitting a home run. I point out very obscure things. For example, there's this one Japanese commercial for this bottled water where you have Ichiro, the Japanese baseball player, I believe his name is Suzuki, Ichiro Suzuki. He hits a home run, and it's in the egg dome. And when he hits the home run, you see the water. It's like he's hitting water. You see a big splash when he hits the ceiling of the dome. It's just like the Hennessy commercial. It's just like the Simpsons when Homer Simpson hits the home run, and you see it go to the dome. Just like the Astrodome, when they used to hit home runs in the Astrodome back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, they would show the ball going through the dome, and this is mockery of the dome itself, what we live under. Like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, where they don't just pull these concepts out of thin air. With Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, what's beyond the Thunderdome? It's heaven. And this is the dome above us. So these concepts, again, I can't say it enough. Sky Dome, the Sun Dome, the Astrodome, they're not just pulled out of thin air when they come up with these concepts.
Let me say hello to those in chat, like Teen Eldridge and Vegan Warrior. And we're going to talk about veganism in just a bit, RV. Jovan Trendmaker, Free Press, DITRH, Retro Rich Alex, Nathan Oakley 1980, Plasma John Doe, Flat Earth Flip, Martin Leedke, Carlos Peguero, Flat Pool, skipping over, Ukadino Walker, Knowledge Scavenger, Paula, hey, how's it going? Swamp Lover, NASCAR driver is here. Okay, good to know. Going round and round, kind of like the sun on the flat earth. X Stranger XX, Stephen Chess is here. Let me move forward to FE Matters Not, Gremlin, Fred Montana, Underground Johnny, Shane Corning, Archer Sage, and a bunch of other people, James B., Justin Bernard, Celebrate Truth, Robbie D. is here. Curved Water Music as well, Pale Queens, hello. Flat Still Earth Vlad, hey, how are you doing? Thanks for being here. Malav Cocktail, hello. Big kiss for you. Hello, The Afterlife Now. And let's see, Victoria Sarton is here as well. All is One Now is also in the live chat. Harry Krug is here. And I think I said Andres. Danny in B flat is here. Love some of these names. Joey F is here as well. And let me make sure I've mentioned everybody, and I know I'll never get to everybody. Teresa Gordon is here. Hello. She wants us to talk about transvestigation, and we will. Cynthia OC, Olaf Block is here. I know that Mark Sargent is listening. He may pop in for a while as well. And hello to everyone. I will go back to chat later, hopefully, if I remember, and say hi. I do appreciate all being in the live chat. Okay, so what should we talk about first? Vegetarianism, veganism, transvestigation?
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I just, I want to tell everybody right now while I'm speaking, I'm not looking at the live chat. I just peeked over while you were speaking. I'm looking at you, and I saw the cat and everything. So it's like we're having a one-on-one conversation. I want to get into what a lot of people are asking about, is the so-called infinite plane, and talking about Admiral Byrd and his claims. Understand he was a Mason, so they're going to speak some truth, and pull people in. But again, mixing truth with lies. One thing needs to be understood: which wall he said there was this, basically tropical area. This is what people need to understand. the world we live in, like I said, like a wristwatch, where the sun and the moon revolve around above the flat Earth. So if you go beyond the ice wall, it's going to be cold for a very long time. Until, for example, if there was another so-called world on this pond, the so-called pond, it would be a great distance before you get into a tropical area, basically to another equator, basically to another tropical zone, so-called equator. And so it'd be a very long distance before you would reach that. So for him to say beyond the ice wall, there's this tropical area, he made it sound like you just go past it and there it is. You would need, again, another sun, another moon revolving around another flat type of Earth, so-called Earth. So it makes absolutely no sense, and I don't believe it. I don't believe there's something beyond. I believe there's the firmament, like the Bible states, and that's pretty much it. It's not, to me, it's not biblical and not biblical. You don't have to agree, Patricia, but this is my stance.
Well, the thing about the dome, the firmament, the ceiling, the people call it blue sapphire, glass, plasma, did I say dome, structure, whatever it is that is covering us. If you're using the Bible or not using the Bible, you have to keep in mind that, I think anyway, something's got to hold the water in. We know that from daily observations. You can't have water without a glass unless you're drinking from a drinking fountain, but then it's falling. Things need to be contained, water, for example. So we do need something to contain us. So whether a person believes that we are this circular piece of land that we know, all the continents that we know, and it's covered by a dome, or it's an endless plain and or pockets that are each covered by domes or some kind of structure, firmament or whatever. To me, it doesn't really matter. The aspect of it being flat and still are the two things I focus on. But I know
Yes.
when I first found flat Earth, because of Mark Sargent's clues, the dome resonated with me on a deeper level. I wouldn't call myself a domer. I don't have any vested interest if it turns out there's a dome or not, but I do understand the logic of it, and I am not against it. I think there's so much more to explore, and experiments and those kind of things may bring us closer to the truth. But the truth is that we are all here on the flat Earth, and it's not moving. And that's about that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because the foundation is, once people figure out we're static, we're not moving, we're still, while you're sitting in your chair, we're not supposedly spinning at the equator 1,100 miles an hour. We're not traveling through space at 70,000 miles an hour. But the bottom line with the dome, like I said many times, you hear the echo when it thunders. Your rainbows, they're arched, and it makes perfectly sense. If you live on a flat plane and you have this nice, huge arch, when you see these rainbows, it just adds up. And also to contain the oxygen, the atmosphere, everything, it just makes sense. There's a barrier to hold this all in. Another thing I want to get into, I haven't really talked about, and this might be, for the people that are new to this, it's like, oh my goodness, this guy's going way too far out there. People talk about the moon and if it's spherical or flat. And from a distance, it does look like it's a sphere. But when you get a nice close-up with the Nikon P900 digital camera, you can actually see the edges, and it doesn't look perfectly round. It's like, it's very, irregular if you look at the edges through the P900 digital camera. So what I'm getting at is, if these are lights like the Bible says, and they're coming down towards us, why would there any need for light going behind it, like the dark side of the moon? We only see one side of the moon. So why would there be any need for any light to be on the so-called other side of the moon? It's not necessary unless God intended some type of reflection, but I don't think so. It's not necessary. Same with the sun. How do we know? There's, to me, if there's a dome, why would there be any need for any sunlight or any heat going towards up the dome? So what I believe, they're almost like spotlights. And of course, when you see the moon as it circles above us, we only see one face. Okay, this is not to be disputed. So to me, it's like everything we're told is a lie. And if you try to mention that to anybody that's dead asleep, of course you're going to sound like you're nuts. You need to be locked up, of course, because that's how they work. That's why I say all the time, that's why this is Freemasonry duality, where everything is based on opposites. Because when you're told, for example, this is the best analogy I can give you. This is how they work. They tell us the sun is 93 million miles away, and it's large. This is duality, when it's the exact opposite. It's close and it's small. So you can go from 93 million miles away to someone saying, well, you know what? I don't think it's 93 million miles away. I believe it might be 75 million or 80 million. That could be debated. But when you say it's 93 million miles away, now you're saying someone comes along and says, no, it's only a few thousand miles away. It's like, wait a second. This is why they teach everything on extremes. That's exactly why they do it.
When I look at those sorts of lights that I have in my closet, and a lot of us have these lights, they are just a flat light that's on the ceiling. There's nothing behind it. It's not a round ball. It's just a flat light. I think of the sun and the moon as being that sort of thing. The light that is coming from both is coming just down for us, regardless of its, what kind puddles or whatever it is. It's just coming here for us. It's for our use. And actually, I think that the stars are there for, as the Bible says, for signs, I think, and signs and symbols. Is that what it says? I would know. Yeah. Well, but also for beauty. I think a lot of this stuff is put there because we've been given eyes and we do appreciate things that are beautiful. And I think we've been given many things to look upon, including each other, that are beautiful. And the stars are beautiful, especially when you view them with these P900 style cameras. They're amazing.
Well, what's amazing to me is how people believe these so-called stars are supposedly suns. When you look at them through telescopes, they're dancing around. They look nothing like a so-called sun. I mean, they look like nothing like we're told described as suns. And also, of course, when you go to like space.com and there's questions asked, on this open forum, why do planets shine like stars? And I tell them that's what they are. They're just wandering stars. And in creation and Bible, the planets are not even mentioned in the creation. It just says the sun, moon, and the stars in the sky. Planets are not mentioned. Planets come from the Greek word wandering star. So when you look at these planets, of course they're pagan named. Uranus, Pluto, Jupiter, all these, Saturn, of course, all these, pagan gods. It's all about the occult, where they're just basically lying to us. And like I said, that one movie, 1984. When that one British actor says, the stars are not, millions of miles away, they're only kilometers away. If we wanted, we could pluck them out of the sky. That's a little bit over exaggerating, but why would they put that in a movie? Those lines about the stars not being far away. This is the truth. Again, the concept of truth in movies lies in the news. And of course, who's going to take a movie seriously? Who's going to take, a musician seriously? Like Toto with their 21st Century Blues. How can we believe the earth is round? Do you think Toto sat around and say we're gonna sing this song about how can we believe the earth is round? It's given to them. Toto is just a group that was formed by the elite. The lyrics are given to them, and they're gonna sneak in these lyrics into songs, and people are not gonna get it. Oh, Toto, they're singing a song about how can we believe the earth is round? I just can't believe it. And people don't get the concept. These are just people like American Idol. They pluck up talent. They pluck up people that have talent. They shape them and form them into what we see on TV, and then they give them lyrics to their songs. Like you have, not to get too far off topic, you have Guns N' Roses, re-singing songs from the Beatles. You think they want to do that? They want to be known as original artists. They don't want to sing other so-called artist songs. They're told to. They're controlled. They might make millions of dollars for doing what they're doing, but once they sign a deal, they are instructed to do what they do if they like it or not. So basically what I'm getting at is all these people in Hollywood, the music industry, every facet of life where you see on TV, they're controlled by very, very, very powerful people, of course.
People are always looking for who to blame. That is a thing about us humans. We want to know who's at fault so we can string them up, or at least attempt to. So, people say it's the Jews, it's the Jesuits, it's the Masons. And I know you talk about the Masons more than anything else. And I was half tempted to wear a black and white check shirt today just to play with your head. And I didn't.
No, I'll just say this. That's part of the confusion as well. They like that concept of duality of who's really under control, when it really doesn't matter. We're all on the same page. They're all working together. They're not, people say, oh, they're all fighting. They might have little disagreements on maybe what they want to exactly present, but they're all still working together. Like a baseball team or a football team, they might have little minor skirmishes or disagreements, but they're all on the same page of what they're trying to accomplish. And that's deception and fooling the world. And what it comes down to, I talk about Masonry because it's in the Bible. Before there was a Catholic Church, of course, there was Nimrod, so-called Baal. That's another thing too. He's known as Nimrod, Baal, all these different names. Odin. that's duality as well. You have people that go by multiple names like Beyonce, and she's also known as Sasha Fierce, and there's other musicians that do the same thing. That's Freemasonry. That's duality going by. Freemasonry, it's like this with the Freemasonic square and compass. They have the G, and people want to argue all day of what it means when they don't understand Freemasonry is about duality. There's not a single meaning. It's like the devil or Satan. It's not the devil. It's not just the devil. He's on a Satan as well. So there's multiple meanings. They love that concept of, and it also offers confusion to the public. They want us to debate what something means when they're all correct. Gravity, Gnostic, it could mean, grand architect. And it's also, like I said so many times, the G is hidden for 33. A through Z is 1 through 26 in the alphabet. When you skip over the alphabet, you land on G again. It's a 33. So
well, sometimes 33 is just a number because all of us either are going to be 33 or were 33 before. And during that year, we were just a normal person, not involved in anything shady.
Well, I want to add to that. I'm glad you said that because a lot of people say, well, I was 33 years old and my uncle's 33 and, this and this. And I tell people it's intent. It's like this. I can use a knife to stab someone. I can also use a knife to free a whale from a trap net. So it's a knife. So imagine that knife being the number 33. It's intent. I'm using it I could use that knife to save a whale, or I could use that knife to stab someone, or I could use it to slice a piece of fruit. So, it's about intent. So the people that are using the numbers, and I'm not saying 33 is a so-called horrible number if you so happen to have your phone number, there's a 33 in it that ends in 33, doesn't mean you're a Satanist. I'm just saying it represents the third, as mentioned in Revelation, the third or 33% of the fallen angels. That's why they do it. But again, I'm not going to say, for example, Patricia, if you own a goat, you're a Satanist. Goats are cute. They're lovable. They're made by God, but they take it as their own. Satan, and all these Satanists that run this world, they created nothing. All they can do is take and steal and claim something as their own. So if someone owns a goat, doesn't mean they're a Satanist. But of course, if they have all these goat Baphomet tattoos on them, yes, they're Satanists. But a goat is not evil. An owl is not evil. So we should not confuse. It's how it's used. It's about intent.
Right. And also it's like a form of mimicry by this psychopathic control grid. These are narcissists that are ruling this world, these elites, they're the powers that should not be. And what they do is they can't create, they can only imitate, which is why there are certain things like the goat and the owl, which are perfectly lovely animals that they say are bad.
Yes. All that I mentioned too is I'm glad you talk about what you just said there, how they love to, mimic basically. It's like the whole concept of cloning. And people are in love with this fantasy idea that the elite could, say, for example, clone Madonna or a Dave Chappelle. Listen, I'm going to explain it briefly as possible. I already made a video on it. But how does the so-called elite manufacture in some clone factory, Dave Chappelle, make this person grow into this full-size human, look the same? It just can't happen. You can clone an animal or a human from birth, from like, for example, a woman, a female dog or a woman, and say, for example, have a so-called clone from birth. But to produce a so-called clones from some clone factory, which has never been proven, but people are in love with the fantasy because the fantasy is better than the reality to them. So, for example, Madonna says it. People say, oh, Madonna's a clone. Well, Madonna even mentioned during an interview, she has 3 lookalikes for her security purposes. So it's just lookalikes. If they have something that's something that's being replaced, it's not a clone. It's a double. It's not some fantastical type movie story where they just pressed another Dave Chappelle out of some mold and created him like you're watching a movie. It's just fantasy. They want you to believe they have that only God can, through the birthing process, people and animals can be created from that state, not from some clone factory, which no one has proof of, no one has evidence of, but they're in love with the idea because it's so, fantastic in their own mind.
Right. I agree with you. My opinion is that there aren't clones or cloning centers, although many would disagree, and everyone's got the right to.
But they have no proof of it. Listen, this thing, Patricia, when I talk about this is the problem with conspiracy theorists. This is why they lose people. They want to debate about these clones, and they have zero evidence to support their claims. It's just fantasy, and you're going to lose a lot of people when you put that kind of nonsense in there. You can say it to your conspiracy friends behind the scenes, but do not tell this to people that are not awake about clone factories. You have no evidence of it, because you're just going to look like a fool. You have no evidence to back up what you're saying, and so you're going to look bad, and they're not going to believe anything else you say. So that's where it all comes down to.
Your view on clones is the same as Jaron Campanella. He said the same thing, that, what are they doing? Cloning from a baby? And then, it's just, it would literally be impossible.
Well, it's like this. If you clone from a baby, how, for example, they somehow some unbelievable way, they sped up the process of this child to a full-grown adult. Then they made this child that grew to this adult stop at this exact state of, for example, Dave Chappelle, and stop this growth and have every single aspect look the same. No. And the voice the same. No. It's like I said, it's just science fiction. It's not reality. It's just fantasy land.
Well, a lot of people, RV, say that the idea of clones is somewhat akin to this whole recent explosion of the transvestigation, that every woman is a tranny thing, because it seems so improbable and implausible. But I mean, you did a recent video as of the recording of the show, which is April 4th, 2017. It was on the singer Pink. And, I have a very open mind. Obviously, we're in this conspiracy world together. I watched that and went, oh, whoa. She really does look like a man. I'm not a fan of the singer Pink. I don't know her music. I don't watch her videos, but I've seen her pictures, and she does have quite a masculine body. And hey, I'm a woman, and I've been in the high school gym locker and seen a bunch of naked girls all together. Ooh. And, some did have less of a waist that indented, and some had more of a waist that indented. Some had bigger breasts, some had no breasts. But there's something about a certain look with the wider shoulders and the no waist indentation at all, and the thick muscular legs that Pink has. And then what you showed in your video was the prosthetic, what appears to be anyway, a prosthetic stomach to fake a pregnancy. And you think, why are they doing this? What's the why behind your theory?
Well, it's a lie. Everything's a lie, and that's a fact. They want this is how they want to operate. Bottom line is, like they say, Satan's the father of all lies, and these are the children. They're just emulating the lies. There's no truth in these people. They want to make this lie system complete in every facet, and they love the fact that they're fooling so many people. And the thing is this, in the beginning, for example, a lot of things, it's so hard to believe, but you got it. I tell this to myself all the time. You got to give it time to sink in. Watch a video. You don't need a comment right away. Watch it again. Let it sink in. It takes time. For example, I love what Dave Weiss said, about Simon Shack. He mentions how when Simon Shack first made his videos of no planes, all the 9/11 truthers called him disinfo. He's an idiot. What's he talking about? But now Simon Shack, even though he might not like me, I don't care if he doesn't, but I care about truth. But the bottom line is, it was basically spot on. And now he's smelling like roses. So, if I see something for what it is, and just because people don't see an agenda behind it, or it doesn't make sense in their mind, their simple mind, I hate to say that, but their simple mind, it's too bad. I look for deception, even though there might not be a so-called agenda behind it, like some people might say. But again, that's a lie system. And again, when it comes to Pink and her abs, and you can see they're very manly, and the prosthetic, I made an update video about that. I don't know if you saw when I talked about the lie system, and I mentioned the SFO plane crash and the prosthetic, where you see the skin didn't match behind her, holding it down, holding it in place. But again, the deception runs so deep. And this is the funny thing. The further you go, the more you point out the truth, the crazier you're going to sound to the person that's sleeping. And that's the problem when we go too deep into this. You're going to lose a lot of people because it's too crazy. But even with the evidence, because I'm not just pulling out thin air like a clone factory, I'm showing the evidence. People might say, there's some people might say, yeah, RV, you're right. That's a fake pregnancy. That's a fake stomach. But, you're crazy saying that that's a man. Basically, what you're looking at is this is perfect. He's a short man with the man's abs, the man's hands, the man's face. When I first saw Pink, there's nothing physically attractive about it. It's just very masculine to me. And the bottom line is, There's so many, and I just made a video about this as well. Nelson Rockefeller and his two wives, Mary and the other one, Happy. They're obviously men. And people that, older people, like I see their little profile picture on YouTube and like, wow, I was alive when this is all going on and I never noticed it. So I'm like, because no one pointed it out to you, because everybody's been told these are the wives. But that's why I love going back in time and pointing out lies in the system. With, like, for example, I was the first one to cover the 1996 Atlanta so-called bombing, where you see a policeman rubbing blood all over the so-called victims, where he has blood on his left hand, on top of his left hand, and he rubs it on people using his right hand. And no one else covered it, because I cover not only newer news stories, newer hoaxes. I like to go back in time and discover how far is this going back. Of course, it's going back way back in time, but nobody's covering them. I mean, very few people are covering these stories. There's like the Oklahoma City bombing, same thing, where Timothy McVeigh, he was supposedly executed at the age of 33. On June 11th, you get your 6 times 11, you get your 66. So the numbers are always going to be there, and they're going to tell you, just like Virginia Tech, where the supposed massacre where 33 people were killed, including the so-called shooter. So, but getting back to the whole trans investigation thing, these people, they have it down so well, where they've been doing this for so long, way before, for example, a lot of people talk about Serena Williams and Venus Williams. This is nothing new. They've been going back way in time, and just looking at the Statue of Liberty, that is basically a transgender statue.
Mona Lisa is also a man, of course.
Yeah. So the whole concept of duality, of doing things in opposites, changing a man into a woman, it's been going back from the very beginning with these people. So this is nothing new, but the concept is new to a lot of people. But the whole thing they're pulling off is nothing new. That's why when I cover with Nelson Rockefeller and his two husbands, and people are like, wow, no one else has covered this. That's what I like to do. And that's why my channel gets a lot of subs. I do groundbreaking work. I'm not just like, okay, for example, you have a lot of people saying, you'll have one person make a video on Sandy Hook calling it a hoax. Then you have about 30 people repeating the same information, on an obvious hoax. I look for things that people do. I know I'm digging. I'm looking around and doing research on different things. And, because I know that this is a lie system. Everything's a lie. So you're going to find the lies everywhere if you look, because people just like people say, oh, you find Satanism everywhere. That's because the people that own and control this world, they put it everywhere. I cannot find something that's not there. So again, getting back to Nelson Rockefeller and the two husbands, and for example, Barack Obama and Michelle. So what I said in the video was, what Barack and Michelle do, it's nothing new. It's nothing new what they're doing. There's nothing new under the sun.
You were mentioning Madonna earlier, and I've seen transvestigations of Madonna.
Yep.
I don't know if indeed that is true. I think she's a woman that just works out and maybe does steroids. I have no idea. What's your thoughts?
That one there, it's touchy, because I put that out there and I say there's a possibility. There's a possibility, but when you look at the narrow hips and the shoulders and everything else, there's something going on. People say, oh, there's nude photos of her. Yeah, but these elite put them out. Who do you think took these photos? Who has access to photos of Madonna? It's those people that are controlling her, and they can manipulate those photos as well. So is it a 100% fact Madonna is a man? I would say no. There's a good possibility. I could be wrong. That's the thing too. We, as so-called conspiracy theorists, a lot of people claim everything's a fact. Everything's a fact. Certain things, for example, the JonBenet Ramsey. I know that's a hoax. The cult of the Ram with Ramsey, like Gordon Ramsay, Charles Ramsey. They love the name Ram, just like with the Roswell crash. They had General Ramsey that was all over that. He was headline covering on the third parallel. That's where it supposedly took place.
And Ramsey goes back to Egyptian times as well.
Yes, it's the occult of the Ram. So getting back to, for example, JonBenet Ramsey, I made a video stating I know that JonBenet Ramsey was a hoax. It was a psyop. But I stated I believe it could be Katy Perry, because she transitioned from this young basic crisis actress. She was a singer. She had that mole on the side of her neck, and you can see photos that don't add up, where they're flipped, where some of the photos of JonBenet Ramsey, her mole's on her left side, but on People Magazine, it's on the other side. It's just, and what could have happened to her? It's possible. It's not a fact, but I believe she transitioned into Katy Perry. Is that a fact? No. I can't say it's a fact, but I believe this is what they did with the child actors. Just like Martin Bryant in Australia, where it's basically a carbon copy of Sandy Hook with the whole Asperger's syndrome. And he played a child actor talking about fireworks. Then later on, he's on TV again, supposedly responsible for the shooting at the so-called massacre. And the funny thing is Martin Bryant, for those that don't know, was involved in this back in the 90s in a so-called massacre in Tasmania, Australia, and all these people were supposedly gunned down by him. He had Asperger's, just like supposedly Adam Lanza, and he went to Newtown High School. So all these connections, just like what happened recently with the Westminster Bridge in London, where Richard Guttart was filming from the the Westminster Hotel in Nice, France, during the so-called truck ramming. So they love to make these connections, and all these. For example, I mentioned in a recent video where you had the Columbine, the supposed massacre in Columbine, Colorado, with Eric Harris in his diary mentioning how he said, if we were going to get away with this, we're going to crash a plane with a hell of a lot of bombs into New York. So they're subconsciously putting in your mind 9/11. So everything connects with, like, Boston, for example, not to go on too long, but from
we've got some time.
Okay.
We're all pretty enthralled here.
Oh, okay, great. Like, for example, 2012 with the so-called Aurora shooting, the Batman shooting, where they actually show a building called Aurora in the movie, and then you had James Holmes with the orange hair for the 33, like the Joker. He looks like the Joker, and that's the whole Joker theme. You had the connection with that when you had someone that his name was Bart. I forgot his surname, but his name was something, Bart something. He talking about how he he rode his bike all the way from Sandy Hook to go cross country, and he ended up in Aurora, and he got shot in the theater. He was involved with the shooting. It just so happened, of course, Sandy Hook happened later on, but a guy from Sandy Hook, before Sandy Hook, was shot at Aurora from this cross-country bike ride. There's very little mention of this, even among the so-called conspiracy realm, but how everything connects. And also, of course, you go from Aurora, then you go to Sandy Hook, and I mentioned how it's in Newtown being a satanic hub. Newtown is 33. Robbie is 33 in numerology, so is Parker. And then you go to the Boston bombing, where you have Joker, as in Joker, Tsarnaev. Joker, Tsarnaev, and Tsarnaev in numerology is 33. The finish line at the Boston bombing just so happened to be 666 Boston Street. So the numbers, the names, and how everything connects, and they're playing with us. And then after Boston, then you go to Virginia, where the supposed Allison Parker shooting, and again, another Parker, another 33 name. And then you go to Orlando in the so-called Pole shooting, and then you had Taria Parker, another 33 name. And she, it was a heavy-set black female, and she said she was shot in her stomach. She's leaning over. She's going through a trash bag, talking to a news reporter, showing all of her dirty clothes, but she's bending over, no problem. Supposedly the shooting just happened, within days. She's being interviewed in her apartment. It's just completely ridiculous. If you're awake and you see everything that's taking place, you connect all the pieces, it's very clear to see. Here's the thing I want to mention. It's like a big puzzle. If you have a 1,000-piece puzzle and you don't have any of the pieces connected, you're not going to see. If you only have a quarter of that puzzle connected, you're not going to see the picture. You got to be able to connect all these hoaxes and steps together and see the big picture. If not, the number 33 is not going to mean anything to you. It's just a number. But once you connect it all together, it's going to make sense.
I am in the comment aspect, the chat portion, and I see a comment from The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction that says Baphomet equals hermaphrodite. Pretty much sums up the trans agenda. It's a good comment. Great comment, in fact.
Yeah, I mentioned that many times. Pretty much in every single one of my videos I make about the trans investigations, going back to years ago when I first made my videos on Serena Williams, I made that point. I made the point in Baphomet, and this is basically, they want you to worship an image of their false idol with Serena Williams and all these transgenders, and Bruce Jenner to Caitlyn. So yeah, that's the whole concept. They want you to worship their creations, and that's what it's all about.
Want to say hello to Bob from Glowbusters, who's been in here for a while, but I forgot to say hello. Spurskimo is also here, as is Dan Dimension. And I think I might have said hello to They Lie Ohio before, but maybe not. Just welcoming some of the newer people into the chat, Ian Tinsley as well. I do appreciate everyone being here, including The Way. The thing about doing a show live and being able to see the live chat, we can see what people are saying and if they have any questions. So if there is somebody here who has a question for RV, just put it in here and put it in all caps, and then I'll read it. Oh, want to say hello to ODD Reality, who is here too, who says androgyny. Yeah, androgyny is a thing. I mean, we can go back into even music videos from the dawn of MTV when that started, I think in what, 81, with the Buggles and Video Killed the Radio Star. The way that the 80s on MTV was portrayed is a lot of the women looked like dudes, including the song, what, Aerosmith's Dude Looks Like a Lady. I mean, this is just the way things were then. And my age, 54, I got programmed pretty heavily into that whole system, and thank goodness broke out of it in 2015.
Yeah, you know what, Patricia, one thing I want to mention is, sorry to interrupt you while you're speaking, was I'm glad you're reading out the comments. If people have questions for you, I'm not looking at the comments while I'm speaking with you because I'm too busy talking, and there's a lot of things going on there. But yeah, talking about, like, for example, in the 80s, in the concept of music videos, first off, music is programming. Okay, music is, follow your heart. There's a lot of songs with, like, for example, you listen to Leonard Skinner, follow your heart and nothing else, where the Bible says, the heart is corrupt among all things. Who can know this? So a lot of songs on following your heart, follow your heart. So this is the concept of duality, and also the concept of music not only being programming. Now, that's not enough. This is why they incorporated music videos. So they're gonna psychologically condition people through the lyrics, and then through visuals. Like, for example, you watch, as I pointed out before, you watch the video Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics, and you see Annie Lennox with the transgender look, with the suit, with the short orange hair. She's pointing at a rocket, the Saturn rocket. You see her with the globe. You see a man in front, one of the band members, acting like he's typing on a computer, like computer programming. They're programming you. They're showing you're being programmed while he's typing in the computer, and they show the globe. They show outer space, and they show Saturn, and they show her with short hair and a man suit. So it's programmed. They're telling you without even saying it. But while the music's playing, while she's saying the lyrics, you see it right in front of you. And just like I mentioned as well with the Thompson Twins, look at one of their albums, and you see they show through not only one so-called baller, they show 3 on one album cover. And just recently with Tom Bailey being the lead singer of the Thompson Twins, and I know a lot about music and movies. I'm huge, I'm an 80s guy. I used to love all that stuff, and I love Thompson Twins, all other songs, everything. So I know about this stuff. So I'm not pulling this thing out of thin air. So Tom Bailey basically came out of retirement. He started doing concerts solo, and he's singing the song "Hold Me Now," and he goes, "I got a picture pinned to my wall." On each of his concerts, what do they have behind him when he points towards the wall? He says, "I have a picture pinned to my wall." It's a ball Earth spinning, coming closer towards him. And so every single concert, you can go online, look at all of Tom Bailey's recent concerts. Every time he sings that song, he points at the picture. I got a picture on my wall, and it's nothing more than the phony baloney ball Earth he's pointing at. It's just a picture. That's what he's saying. I got a picture pinned to my wall, and it's the fake phony ball Earth.
All it is a picture.
Yeah, and of course there's still controlled, and even there's the one video, lies, yeah, it's gonna get you.
Yes,
they're gonna get us, and they're singing this to millions of people. They're not, oh, it's a great song, but they don't understand.
Hey, I had a Walkman. I remember walking around with my Walkman on, and I thought I was pretty cool with a Walkman, and like, lies, they're gonna get you, not knowing that this isn't just catchy lyrics; it's a fact.
Patricia, they're talking to you directly, and everybody else listening to the song. We're gonna get you, And the reference to 9/11 as well. If you watch the music video, it's been a while since I've seen that video, but there's a little bit of a 9/11. But of course, like I said so many times, with all their album covers, for example, you look at the group Boston. It's just like the Space Invaders. I wish we almost had you can show it, but people can go to Google Images, look at Boston's album cover, and it looks like a spaceship, but above the spaceship, you see the Fermat Dome, and you see all these cities inside. It's just a copy the Space Invaders box art for the Atari 2600. Same exact concept with a huge spaceship with a dome firmament in all these cities within. So it's just like the same people controlling the video game industry, the music industry, and Hollywood. They're not just copying each other. They're pushing the same agenda. So, it's like everybody do the same Masonic hand signs. They're not copying each other. They're all in the same club. Like all the gang members throw up the same hand signs. They're not copying each other. They're all in the same club. So that's why you see them all doing the same stuff. They're all pushing the same agenda. But again, getting back to the 80s and the missing persons as well, when they enter the warehouse, as I showed before, you show the dome, you see the dome symbolism with a pyramid in the four corners. So I believe the concept of the pyramid being the four corners, as mentioned in the Bible, and the pyramid being the structure above the firmament, and of course it's uncapped with the all-seeing eye above, and their god is being Lucifer. That's why they have the so-called uncapped pyramid with the eye and the eye in the sky, just like that one band.
Yeah, I know the band too.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
It's not Electric Light Orchestra, but it's. I'll look it up in a minute. The Eye in the Sky is the name of the song.
I'm going to look it up real quick. I'm going to Google
You look
that
it up.
song.
I'll read chat. Hello to Emily, Suzanne, and also I want to say hi to Christian Matmo, Dexter Morgan. And there's a question for RV here. And if you do have one, make sure to put it in all caps. And hello to Flat Earth Subgenius and Aaron McKenzie. The question for you, and Lee Redpath and Lauren as well. Dragonstar Alchemy wants to know, why did you name yourself Russianvids? And did you look up who did the Eye in the Sky song?
Yes, it's Alan Parsons' project.
Oh,
yeah. And that's the thing is, real quick before I get into the name, it's like I don't want to say this, sounds so horrible. It's like child molesters pull little kids in their van with candy. They pull us into with something sweet. The elite with something sweet like music. Mm-hmm. And you know how it gets your endorphins going. It gets you pulled, and people work out. They got to have their music. That's the power of music. People don't necessarily listen to lyrics. They love the beat. And the beat. It's like a snake charmer. We're being charmed. It's like when the fisherman goes fishing and that bait on the end of the hook, that worm, and the fish can't resist. But that's what kills them. They get pulled in, and they end up being pulled in and end up in a frying pan. That's what they're trying to do to us. They want us to do this, the whole concept of us being pulled in by that fishing line. But getting back to the Russianvids name, and I mentioned this in my podcast, but I constantly get asked every day. My dad, my whole family, they're from Russia. They left Russia during the world wars, so-called world wars, World War II. They went to Paraguay. They immigrated on a boat to Paraguay. And that's where, my mom and dad met, on the boat and ended up in Paraguay. From Paraguay, they came to the United States. So it's my past roots. I'm a first generation, of course, American. So it's my family roots. And before I started doing truth videos, even though I was always into truth, I would upload Russian vids, Russian videos. So I just kept the name, So, that's how it all started. And also I need to mention, I had 5 channels previously that were shut down. So I've had many, many videos lost over the years, but now over the years, I learned, make sure to keep your videos just in case they get shut down. But that's how the name comes up. Name came to be, it's my family roots,
All right. How long have you been on YouTube in general, even with like your old channels?
Well, the thing is, basically I got into YouTube. I mean, I started watching YouTube when it first came out in 2005, and that's when I started watching a lot of the 9/11 videos, and and all that, and then just basically how I started getting into YouTube years ago was I seen a lot of people making videos, but it's like, I'm not one to come out. I'm kind of like a reserved person per se, believe it or not, shy, reserved, not really outspoken, but I just got tired of people just not really putting the real truth out there. I'm like, these people, they're good. They're pretty articulate. They're pretty good speakers, but they're not putting the real truth out there. They're not really hitting the points, and it's not really my thing. But I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna start making my own videos. And that's how it all happened, because I felt like the information. And here's the thing is, like when I first, started doing YouTube, it was guys like me, Dave J, and Jungle Surfer calling all the hoaxes, and we're all called nuts and crazy. Yeah, you're right about this, but not everything's a hoax. Oh, you think Trayvon Martin's a hoax? Oh my gosh, yeah, 9/11 is that we're told, but not everything is a hoax. Not everything. Yeah, I said yes, it is. And you guys, I said you don't get it now. Like here's the thing is, when I was saying Ron Paul, when I said Ron Paul is a Mason, he's part of the club, you people are falling from, I said it before. I had like 80 likes and 2,000 dislikes in the video. There's so many Ron Paul fanboys that could not see what I saw. The game is rigged. And people said the argument, oh, but he has the same stance for the last 20 years. Yeah, he's been a part of the world stage for the last 20 years and playing a role for the last 20 years, which you don't understand now. But later on, people got it where Ron Paul recently said, yes, the game is rigged. And how would he know that? How does he know that? Because he's part of it. He was part of it. That's how he knows the game is rigged. He said that in an interview on his own channel. So, people that, down my videos and argue with me about Ron Paul being a shill, of course, they're never going to come to me and apologize after saying all these horrible things. Oh, Ron Paul's, same with Alex Jones. I was one of the first guys to call out Alex Jones. I would get hammered by people saying, oh, Alex Jones has done more than you ever did, blah, 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 all this stuff. I'm like, you don't understand. He's given a platform. He's given a platform by Time Warner. I showed the video where one of his employees, Mike Hansen, is talking to a police officer, questioning him, and then he shows his ID, and the police officer reads, you work for Time Warner? He goes, I work for Alex Jones. I work for Time Warner. So I point these out, but people all knew truth. It's like that. You go to, for example, you've never been to a Japanese restaurant. The first time you have sushi, you spit it out. But a year later, you love it. You're eating it every day. Not every day, but you know what I mean? Everything new something new is not accepted to the mind, to the soul. It takes time truth takes time to digest. And people are not patient enough to let things sink in. And let, just like the whole flat earth thing was very easy for me because I'm very open-minded. And I said, I don't care what people think. I'm going to look at the ball earth, the so-called ball earth, and the flat earth. I'm going to look at this with no agenda. And people already have agenda. They already had their mind made up before they even look into it. Well, don't even look into it. You're wasting your time. So not to go on too long, but people really need to forget everything they thought was true and start over. That's the foundation if you want to be a real truth seeker. Don't stick to what you learned. But I learned this in my college course about this, and this, about science. So the earth can't be flat because I learned this in school. You got to throw everything away and just start from ground one. Start from ground level and just like you're tearing on a house and just gutting it in a whole new foundation. And that's what you need to do if you're a real truth speaker or looking for the truth. You got to start from scratch. Forget everything you learned and start over.
And why would they lie? Because they can.
No, I'll tell you why they lie. Because knowledge is power. And when you have the knowledge of the power and manipulation and control, when all you're fed are lies, good luck finding the truth. And you're easier to control when everything you've been told is a lie.
It's funny. I'm looking at the count of live viewers. It's getting closer and closer to 333. So,
oh no, give me a break.
Funny. Here's a question from Emily Suzanne RV. Have you seen the band A Perfect Circles Facebook page? It's covered in Masonic images. We'll have to check that out.
Well, it's everywhere. Those Masonic images are everywhere, and that's what people didn't understand. Like this. Like, for example, someone said to me, I talk about the 666 hand sign. Everybody knows it as the AOK hand sign. Someone says, well, I was in a restaurant. The waiter told me, or the waiter asked me, how's the food? And I said, it's AOK. And I did the AOK hand sign. I said, yes, but you learned that from years and years of seeing everybody else do it. And they learned it from TV. Like on a pizza box. Pizza, you see the Italian guy, the fat Italian guy doing the so-called AOK sign. Okay, you put the connection together. Pizza, Italy, Rome, Vatican, and the pizza guy doing the 666 hand sign, and the pizza's 33 numerology, and you got the 666 hand sign on the box.
And the pizza's flat, like Earth.
The pizza's flat with the edge. But here's the thing is, it goes deeper. Like, for example, hot dog. You go to 7-Eleven. There's two things they sell, mainly. Slurpee. At 7-Eleven, 7 times 11 is 77, the occult of Oz. In Chaldean numerology, 77 is Oz. So you have at 7-Eleven, they serve Slurpee. Slurpee is 33 numerology, and hot dog is 33 as well. And you look at some of these logos made by the company. They have 7-Eleven, and they're actually physically made with these hot dogs that make the number 7. Like I said, you see combos: hot dog with a Slurpee, Slurpee with a hot dog. And not only that, hamburgers. So you have pizza, hamburgers, and hot dog. They're all 33. And these are the 3 main foods that they shove down people's throats. And isn't it funny? All these franchises throughout the world, and not one are based on health. Everything's involving killing us with hamburgers, hot dog, and pizzas. You know, it's just
True.
slow death. And why? They force it upon us. You know, they force it upon us. That's simple.
This is a really good way to transition into something that I alluded to before, which is vegetarianism. I know because I've read in one of the comments on one of your videos that you just decided I can't eat meat anymore and went vegetarian. How did that decision happen? Is it because you have all of these lovely animals, the turtles and the cats around you, or something else?
Well, going back in time, you know, being awake, we should all, you know, think about this, you know, how we're all conditioned from childhood. And that includes eating meat. For example, I made this analogy years ago. How is it? I don't want this to be too drawn out, but I'm going to make a lot of connections here. For example, when I was a child, I used to think, you know, it's funny, you know, baby goats drink milk from their own mother. You know, cows, of course, drink milk from a cow. You know, monkeys drink, you know, baby monkeys drink milk from an adult monkey, their mother. But why do we drink milk from an animal, a cow? And it'd be considered disgusting if we drank, for example, milk from a female human. We poured a female human milk over our cereal or our oatmeal. That would be considered disgusting. But when all animals, they drink milk from their own. So we've been conditioned to accept we're drinking, of course, milk from cows. You know, milk. You know, cows can produce a lot more milk than a female human, so it's more efficient. That's why they've done it. But just getting along the lines of being a vegetarian, where, you know, as far as, you know, being a truth seeker, and just seeing how, you know, all these animals are, you know, you see all the videos online of these poor animals, cows and chickens and pigs being slaughtered. And here's the thing is, it's funny how a lot of so-called truth seekers, they ignore that. They don't want to look at those videos, just like they share with their friends all the 9/11 videos, all the flat earth videos, but they refuse to watch these videos because they rather have their head in the sand and ignore the fact that these animals are being butchered and they're going through torment. They rather turn a blind eye and keep enjoying their hamburgers, their pizza with all the meat toppings. So getting back to what I'm saying, you know, the bottom line is this. I've said it for years. I wish I was a vegetarian. I've been hooked on meat, like people are hooked on cigarettes, just like people are hooked on sodas. Bottom line is, I said many times, I wish I could be a vegetarian. And I tried going cold turkey, basically stopping and just becoming a vegetarian. After 3-4 days, I'm dying. And that's a mistake I made. To be honest, it's very hard to go from being a meat eater to nothing overnight. You gotta, I hate to say this, but you gotta transition into it. You gotta do it slowly. First, stop eating beef. Stop eating beef slowly, and then you go just to chicken. Then you stop eating chicken, then you go to vegetarian. And then you make the gradual transition from a vegetarian to a vegan.
And that's where you are right now, right? Yes. You're still on cheese and honey, and you're thinking,
No. I already made the decision. And I said it before. I went from basically eating meat to vegetarian, then making the transition eventually to a vegan, and I've started already today. I'm gonna stop all dairy products, honey, and everything else, because I just watched the video, and I'm gonna just say it briefly because I don't like to talk about this too much, but it needs to be said. I watched a video with this organic goat milk factory in Germany. And even though these animals are not being so-called slaughtered, the way they're being treated, they're being whipped, they're being kicked by these hidden cameras, and they're just producing milk, and they're being thrown around. And you think, oh, these animals aren't being killed, but they're still being tortured. So I'm not going to give my money to these people. I'm not taking part in what they're doing. So I'm cutting out dairy too. So I'm going to, if everybody did that, that's the problem. Is a lot of people are not, of course, going to listen to this. They don't care about this. They just care about other true topics. But this is a very important one. These poor animals, they have the right to live, enjoy life like we do, and that's what it all comes down to. So I've stopped. And like I said, I said to myself years ago, if I had to kill an animal, I couldn't do it. I started it, or I become a vegetarian. That's which I am now, which I transitioned to a vegan.
A lot of people have trouble getting off cheese, and that's because it has actually a form of morphine in it called queso morphine, which really is addictive. So it is quite hard to get away from cheese. It's one of the last things people give up.
There's a vegan cheese. There's vegan cheese out there as well.
Oh, yeah. Some of it's pretty good.
There's some places that serve, delivery places that serve, vegan crust, vegan cheese. And, you know, there's always a way. When there's a will, there's a way. And people just, they don't want to go down that path because they love, you know, and that's why they push bacon. They love to push bacon, bacon, bacon.
I know it's weird. It's weird how bacon became a thing in the past 10 years. It's literally in everything and also advertised everywhere. Bacon t-shirts with the word bacon on them. Bacon's the punchline of many jokes. I wonder what that's all about.
I'll tell you what that's about. And it's all biblical. These elite are the ones pushing it because it says in the Bible specifically that you shall not eat swine. It's dirty. It's forbidden. So this is why they push this whole bacon concept. It's just like in Hollywood where you see, I mentioned before in past videos, where you have the concept of all these rock stars with long hair, where it says in Corinthians in the Bible that long hair is meant for a woman to cover her body. And it's not, you know, long hair in a man is disgraceful. So this is why they push the long hair on men. And I'm not saying long locks. I'm not saying if a man is a Rasta man and he has long locks, that's obviously, you could tell it's a male. But when you style it as a female, as confusion, for example, you know, I'm kind of off topic. I remember years ago with back in the 80s, during the days when rock and roll, Guns N' Roses and Def Leppard were huge. It's so embarrassing, but it's funny. I'll tell you this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. My friend was driving his truck, and he saw what he thought were two women walking on the side of the street, and he whistled to them, "Hey!" And he turned around and looked, and they were two dudes. They were two dudes, and I was laughing my butt off. I said, "See, that's what you get. That's what you get." But see, that's what they want. They want confusion. They want confusion, and that's part. Here's the thing too, not to get too far off this whole bacon thing, but it's like every little thing they do, people do not realize why they do it. For years, they always push the twig models that have very masculine bodies, is to create a gray area between men and women. They, you know, as a man, men love, I don't know, I shouldn't even say this, but men love voluptuous bodies, you know, women with curves. And they're pushing these, you know, basically stick figure, looks like men type bodies out there on as models. They don't put voluptuous women up there. You know, they want to push this. They want to have the idea in your head where the mixing of man and women. And these women were basically anorexic. I have nothing against thin women, but thin women can still be curvy. But the point is, these women, they lost all their muscle. These women were unhealthily starving themselves to become this, what they wanted, which is unhealthy skin and bones model that look like men. So when you look at trannies in Hollywood, you're not going to know the difference between a man and a woman anymore. So they're blurring the lines. And this is exactly what I talked about with I mentioned earlier with the Eurythmics and Annie Lennox. And I forgot that Grace Jones, another example.
Grace Jones, yes. Very masculine in a way, but very short hair too.
And listen, all these singers, it's not a coincidence, all these big names, Michael Jackson, Elton John, Boy George, you know, George Michael, Prince, you know, all these big names, they have the feminine type qualities, you know, it's the mixture again. So you see it everywhere, you know, Liberace, the famous piano player, you know, they love this concept.
This is an interesting comment by Ukdina Walker, who says our hair works as antennas to the other world, meaning the spiritual world. And is that kind of what you were saying before about that women are the ones that are supposed to have long hair? There's another guy in my chat named Shane who is saying he's not sure where in the Bible that it says that men shouldn't have long hair.
Yeah, it's in Corinthians. It's mentioned. It's specifically in Corinthians. Look it up. Just go to Bible Hub and type, or just do Google search. Type in Corinthians, long hair, shameful or disgraceful. And the thing is, people say, well, what about Jesus? Well, there's no physical picture in the Bible of Jesus with long hair. It just said that Jesus Christ had, you know, they just basically describe him as his hair is white as wool. His head and his hair was white like wool. And obviously all the photos we see, his hair is not white like wool.
Right,
so,
and he's a Caucasian, which is also weird.
What's that?
Well, and then they always show Jesus as a Caucasian.
Well, the thing is this, more than likely, he was more like, I would say, someone in the Middle East or Greek or Italian, that kind of olive skin in this white complexion in the Middle East does not add up. but it does say white hair like white as wool, and head and hair like white as wool. But we have to understand, when they talk about Jesus having, his feet like brass, because of course you're in the desert and you're wearing sandals, you're gonna get sunburn. So you're gonna have darker, extremities in your hands, your arms. So, again, people want to debate about the skin color. I don't want to get in that too much because that's just another divide and conquer type thing, and a lot of arguments come from that. But the bottom line is, it does say in Corinthians that long hair in a man is disgraceful. It's meant for a woman to cover her body, specifically her breast. That's what it's referring to.
Well, your icon's Roddy Piper, and
yes,
have longest hair.
I'm glad you said that. Because, and I said this in a video, and I made a video about John Carpenter, who of course made the movie They Live. And I stated this: John Carpenter is no hero. Roddy Piper's no hero. Roddy Piper appeared on Alex Jones' show. That tells you enough right there. But I still enjoyed the movie and the concept of truth in movies, lies in news. And bottom line, there are no heroes in this world. And even the images of Christ are false. And obviously, he does have long hair. And it does seem hypocritical that I would say that I don't have that as my icon. But, the bottom line is this whole world is living in sin. And in every which way, it's going to be there. Listen, I still like one of my favorite movies is Total Recall. I love it with Arnold and everything. But there's so, like, they flash the 666 sign on a monitor, the 666 numbers being flashed. You see all the pyramids. Any way you turn in this world, it's just sin. Because it says in the Bible, this world was given into the hand of the wicked. So they control everything we eat, as far as, you go out to the restaurant, fast food, to regular restaurants. When you go buy a movie, you listen to music, you watch a televangelist. Televangelists are controlled. And I made a video about this where it's very important. I made a video about talking about televangelists where you have Jimmy Baker, eating this rice and looking like a real goofball, digging in this container of rice because he sells these buckets of food. Well, he had his employees make this huge serving of rice, and it's in this big type of trough with a shovel and everything. And he's wearing a suit. He's eating rice with his bare hands, and rice is falling out of his mouth. He just looks ridiculous. They want him. These are Masons, and they want to. All these televangelists look ridiculous with their goofy haircuts. Tammy Faye Baker with all of her makeup, and all Benny Hinn falling on the stage, acting like he's drunk. So this creates atheism. This breeds atheism. Atheist. I don't want to be. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to follow one of these people. I don't want to be so stupid to follow one of these televangelists. Well, then you go to Bill Nye, who was an actor. I put a video of him when he was a younger actor, and he was Speedwalker, wearing his stupid Speedwalker outfit, just a horrible actor. And you have Neil deGrasse Tyson, when asked on his own podcast about gravity, what's gravity? He couldn't explain it.
That excerpt, that clip is a perfect clip for anybody to find and download. And then when you get in a sort of argument with somebody on Facebook or wherever the case may be, just send them that clip of Neil not being able to define what gravity is exactly. So.
And that's what I said in my video as well, is here's the thing is, you have evolution, which is a theory. You have gravity, a theory, only a theory. You have the theory of relativity, string theory. All these are theories, but in an atheist mindset, they turn their theories, because they believe them so much, into fact. As a believer in a creator, it's called a faith, and we do not deny that. But they don't want to. They want to deny that their theories, that's all they are. They want to make them into facts and try to, they always use this lingo and try to sound all complex. The bottom line is this. All these so-called educated people that believe in all the lies of science, which is nothing more than science fiction, they've been trained well in the lie system. They're very good at what they learn, which is nothing more than lies. So they connect all the pieces of the lies of science, and they put it all together very well. But the whole foundation is a lie. Of the ball earth from a big bang, an explosion creating this whole world out of nothing. Something simple as a chair I'm sitting on didn't just happen. But somehow this world with all these amazing, all the amazing animals, all the people, it's funny how everybody's identity, everybody looks different DNA, different eyes, different fingerprints, and this is by design. It's not by, how is it that we came from these primates that all look the same, but we evolved into humans, but we look nothing the same. How does that happen? And where these transitional fossils, it doesn't make any sense. Here's something interesting. You look at the coelacanth, so-called coelacanth fish, which are still alive today. They're supposedly a prehistoric fish that was thought to be extinct hundreds of millions of years ago. Well, early in the 1900s, they supposedly rediscovered it in the Indian Ocean. It's not supposed they did. There's photos online with the coelacanth fish alive today. And they showed supposed fossils from hundreds of millions of years ago, 300 million years ago. And you look at the coelacanth today, and guess what? They look exactly the same. They did not so-called evolve into anything. So what's going to happen to humans? Are we going to evolve into something else? Are we going to have arms growing out of our backs? Are we going to evolve 2 heads? Are we going to evolve to another creature? Evolution is ridiculous.
They want us to quote unquote evolve, but that's the whole transhumanism agenda, merging man and machine. That's where they want to take us. That level of evolution, fake evolution.
Yeah, that's what they did with subconscious movies, like subconscious storylines like Blade Runner, and Terminator. This is all about that transhumanism. They want that idea. That one video by George Michael, I mentioned it before in a podcast as well. They have all these female models on stage, and there's one to walk with a half robotic outfit and everything. So they're pushing that idea, they like Star Wars, where Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, they are part human and part machine. Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man, part human, part machine. So this is going way back in time. This whole idea, this whole concept, every little thing, there's a reason, there's a backstory for everything they do. They're not going to just put something out there just to put it out there. There's always going to be programming. I always mention it with the series from 1983. I talked about it a million times, how they have the flat Earth with the firmament and the sun and the moon within, and you can see the circular path. But I don't really mention this too much, but also regarding evolution. During one of the episodes, when the so-called alien invaders arrived, they had this family sitting in the living room watching this all take place on TV. It's being broadcast throughout the world. And the father says, just take a look at them. They look just like us. They must have went through the same evolution process as we did. So it's another form of, during this show about alien invaders, which is programming, they're fitting in more programming with evolution. Now, what I find interesting about the series is they have the resistance, and the supreme leaders talking about vaccines and how vaccines can basically cure cancer. We have a vaccine that can cure all cancers. So another form of how vaccines are beneficial. And then you have the resistance. Watch this on TV from their underground bunker, saying, can you believe they're pushing fake off as real? And this one guy in the back says, yep, and the American people will buy it. Wow. Pushing fake as real, and the people will buy it. So another form of mockery. How
that's what all of this is about. Pushing fake is real.
Yeah. And that's a funny thing too. That's a funny thing too. Like I said, getting back to Dave, Jay, and I, and also Jungle Server, calling everything fake news. Before people heard Donald Trump talking about fake news, before my subs were on board with the idea everything is fake, everything's a lie, when my own subs were mocking me, like, oh my goodness, I agree with a lot you say, RV, but man, you're calling everything fake? People really die. I said, I know that. But it's like watching J.R. Ewing in that episode of Dallas, that TV show from the 80s, where who killed J.R.? Yeah, he died in the TV show, but he's still really alive in real life. Just like TV news is like a movie where people really die, but they go into retirement, like George Michael, David Bowie. They go into retirement. They want to be away from they can't even go in the public eye. They can't even be in the public eye once they retire. Anyways, this is their way of going to retirement. So yes, people really die, but not like we're told. This is part, again, of the lie system. So people are not going to get it. The deception runs too deep for a lot of people. It just runs too deep. And they want to, see, the thing is this. They want to talk to their friends about 9/11 and Sandy Hook being a lie, but they cannot go over to where the real truth is, where everything's a lie for the most part. And it's too far, and they cannot present it to their friends. So they want to just stick to certain topics, certain points, and not get too far off and sound so-called crazy to their friends, because they don't want to seem crazy. But the truth is stranger than fiction, like your show.
What can we do is the big question. should we stay away from all TV, magazines, music concerts, playing albums, or from our iPod? If we do that, we run the risk of being cut off from what's happening in the world and missing some of the programming that we could warn others about. It's a fine line. What do we do?
Very, very simple. You know, and I mastered this. I don't want to brag or anything, but I mastered. I can still watch a movie like Total Recall and not watch it as a form of entertainment. I'm looking for clues. You know, I enjoy the scenery, the background music, but I realize it's programming. So once you realize they're trying to program you, it's not going to work. Just like someone's trying to hypnotize you. You cannot be hypnotized unless you allow someone to hypnotize you. So just like you listen to music, just like you know, for example, go through the school system. It's very necessary for us to go through the school system. But if you teach your children, be careful. Learn, you know, languages. For example, you want to learn English, Japanese, Russian, whatever. You need to learn arithmetic. You need to learn how to go through the school system and basically have a fine filter. Take the good and leave the rest. So, for example, when I heard about Christopher Columbus, I heard about, you know, Thanksgiving. I knew it was rubbish as a child. You know, I knew it was rubbish. I said, I'm not buying this stuff. When I first saw the ball earth, in the classroom, like, I just stared at the globe. I said, how does all this water stick to the sides and the bottom? It's just unbelievable, because it's not believable. But again, I was talking about the flat earth. Oh, the water fall over the side. So it's like this. You know, this is what I want. It's like politicians. They give you two choices, you know, but with the flat earth, they didn't give you the real concept of how the water's being held in by the ice walls. If that was presented to many children, like, look, these are the two concepts. Before, people used to believe Earth was flat, surrounded by an ice wall holding the oceans in. That would trigger the mind. Wait a second, that makes sense. But they always exclude the ice walls when you're in school. They just say the world is flat and that's it. And it's by design. So you have to fall for one of the two options and you go with the ball earth. You know, and you told us, you know, gravity, which is only a theory. I said in the videos, you know, think of this. People talk about the edge of the flat earth. We do not go over the edge. It's like a bathtub. There's a wall. There's to hold it all in. People say, where's the proof? Look at Antarctica. All you see is ice. That's what's holding all the oceans in. So I tell this to people that believe in the ball earth. You're the ones going over the side. We don't on the flat earth concept. Flat earth model. You're the ones going around this 100-ton ship, for example, a cargo ship coming from China with all those Nikes, all those iPads, iPods. You're the ones, you know, that believe this, you know, multiple ton ship is cruising from China on the so-called bottom, you know, on the bottom of the ball earth, and cruising up under the bottom on the sides and making its way to the United States. No, it's not happening. It's not happening. You want to believe it's happening because you have too much pride and ego. Listen, the biggest enemy of truth is someone's own ego. That's the biggest enemy of truth.
Wow, that is so true. So true.
Yeah, and that's the problem. So the bottom line is, I tell them, you're the one that makes a claim of you going over an edge. Look at this. I go to the Pacific Ocean, and I look out as far as I can see. The water's flat, and you don't see any curve. It doesn't matter how you go, you don't see a curve, you know. And just because, like, here's an example. I saw this on was it Twitter or Facebook? Someone was arguing, I see a curve. They showed a MiG, a Russian MiG, flying through the sky, and during the they had, like, you know, of course, a camera board, and they show a so-called curvature. And I point out in the video, I said, look, and I got a screenshot of it, where basically it's going convex and it's going making the so-called ball earth, you know, the curvature. And I said, look at this. And you can see how it goes convex. And I said, what about this? I said, you understand this is a fisheye lens that creates a distorted curve that makes you believe you live on a ball earth. Once you understand, then you'll get it. Until then, you're not going to get it. You know, that, you know, the way that the fisheye lens work. And I said it many times. This is why they created the fisheye lens. When they go to, you know, high mountains, or they're in a plane, or, you know, you have these workers, construction workers, going on top of the World Trade Center. When they get video footage, you're going to see the distorted footage to give a distorted reality to the millions upon millions of people that watch documentaries, for example, on History Channel or Discovery Channel. So while you're watching these videos about the documentary, they don't really care too much about any of that stuff. It's more about the ball Earth programming. Just like I said many times, the whole point of going to the moon was not to go to the moon. It was to convince the world we live on a ball.
Right, to get that picture, which they didn't really get. Yep.
Which is only, of course, just CGI fake. But that was the point. That's all they want to do. And that's why they don't spend any more time supposedly going to the moon, because they just want to plant a seed in your mind that we live in a ball. And like I said so many times in songs, you're going to have like Billy Joel's, we didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world was turning. Mm-hmm. So these lyrics, they're conditioning us to the classroom, through the news, through music videos. It's ever. So I understand why people believe these lies, because the lies are everywhere by these controlled puppets. That's why they controlled every aspect. That's why Alex Jones says the globalist 1,000 times a show, to instill in the mind we live in a globe. Not the planist, the globist. No, he says the globalist.
Well, Pale Queens in our comment section live show says, I think if you're aware and awake, you can spot the programming, meaning you can watch movies like you said you do. And I do occasionally. You can listen to music, but you've got to be aware and awake. And I make it, when I go to movies occasionally or concerts or whatever it is, I make it into a little game. See how many times you can spot globe programming or promotion of things like evolution or any other false motifs. And it makes it fun, and it keeps you sharp, and it makes you feel that you're not being brainwashed while you're having fun.
Well, you know what? It's like this too. It's like, one thing I want to mention before I get into that is, I see Christians, believers in God, going towards the flat earth, and I see atheists. But atheists, that go into it, they don't want to do of course, the biblical way, because they have always bashed the Bible. So yeah, they go with the flat earth, but they're going to stick with science and the no dome but it doesn't make sense how this, it all matches the Bible, but because even though they're waking up to the reality of the flat earth, they just can't go where the Bible is, where it talks about the firmament and the sun, the moon under the firmament. It's still an uncomfortable thing for them to go there. So they'll be a flat earther, but they want to be an atheist flat earther. It's just like being a meat eating a vegan, where it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. But getting back to, like you said, programming and movies and being awake and being aware, I want to say this, and it's very important I mention this. A lot of us truth speakers that try to wake up friends and family, and our friends and family, they rebel, they reject it. They already have their minds made up. Listen, it's not for them. It's not for them. It's a gift. To be awake, it's a process. You don't just go from crawling to running.
Right.
To be awake,
you can only see it when you're ready. And some people aren't ready yet. That doesn't make them better or worse than you. They're just not ready yet.
Well, the thing is this. It's not only they're not ready, they reject it right off the bat. But to me, it's like a gift where not everybody is meant to have the truth. For example, you have a friend who's, I don't want to say this, but like, for example, maybe he was locked up in the pen. He has a lot of problems. He can't even catch up with his bills. He doesn't have 2 pennies to rub together.
I actually dated someone like that, but anyway.
Well, what it all comes down to is when you don't have 2 pennies to rub together, you're not going to be concerned if Sandy Hook was a hoax or not, because it so-called doesn't affect me, what they say. You're not going to care if we live on a spinning ball or a flat earth. So many people are trapped in this pit, this world system of slavery, where they're basically trapped and they have their own problems that these truths they're not going to be concerned about, because they're so self-absorbed in their own problems, their own life, and too busy posting selfies on Facebook to care about truth. But the bottom line is this, like the Bible says, it's the narrow gate, to find the narrow gate, and now people are going to find it. So when you put the obvious truth, like, for example, the Boston bombing and all the people with their obvious, crisis actor clothes and the shred up clothes with scissors, and you show it to someone that's not awake, and they're going to just deny. But the truth is not for them, because we spend so much time and effort looking at the truth. It's not for them to get it in 5 seconds. It's not for them to get it in an hour. It's like this. You gotta be, I don't want to say obsessed, but it's like I said in the podcast, it's like learning a language. to learn, for example, if you're American, you want to learn Japanese. You're not going to do it if someone tells you to. You got to want to learn it. It's got to be in you. You have the desire. You gotta be someone that's a so-called truth seeker. You gotta have it in you that you want the truth. If you're not interested in the truth, if someone presents it to you, you're not gonna care. You're gonna just deny and just look at it and just, like, for example, I hear this all the time. People say, "Oh, I post truth videos on my Facebook or Twitter," and my asleep friends, they don't care. Yeah, because they're dead asleep and they don't want to know the truth. They have their heads in the sand, and it's not for them. Not yet, anyways. But until it affects them, then they'll wake up. Just like I said, when I used to make videos calling everything fake news, now you hear Donald Trump saying it. Now you hear a bunch of sheeple using the term fake news. But I was saying it was fake news before it was hip, before it was a trendy thing, and I would put that there all the time. I would, and again, I don't want to sound like beat this dead horse, but I said it a million times about, years ago, my own subs would fight and argue with me about not everything's on TV, is a hoax or a psyop. I said, yeah, if it's mentioned and the story goes away, more than likely it's a real story. But if they spotlight it, it's covered 24/7, it's their production. Now, the hard part for people to absorb and understand is all these hoaxes happening worldwide. So you have a hoax like what happened yesterday, supposedly happened yesterday in St. Petersburg, Russia, with the train, with the metro. People are not going to kick it. Well, Russia is our so-called enemy, and we're here in the U.S., and this is a sovereign country, and we're a sovereign country. No. The New World Order has been here from the start. It just hasn't gone public yet. But behind the scenes, it's always been a New World Order. So people didn't understand this. When they say the New World Order is coming, no. It's been here. It's always been here. It's just not in the public eye yet. That's the difference.
So within the Flat Earth Awakening, there are, and probably all aspects of truth seeking, so let's say truth seeking in general, we tend to have a lot of infighting.
Yeah.
And I think people should just chill out. I mean, it's easy to say, right? And just allow others to say what they're going to say, as long as they're being civil. But how can we get people to do that in the real world? Are we always going to be at each other's throats? I think that the powers that should not be don't really even need shills. They just have each other fighting ourselves.
I'm glad you mentioned that. And that's one thing, is I really don't fight with other flat earthers on the flat earth topic. Now, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because people that follow my channel know this. I mentioned Eric Dubay. That's the only one I really mention as problematic to me when it comes to flat earth. Not because of his flat earth videos. It's because he pushes Hitler, as some type of hero when the world's a stage and Hitler was a Mason. Hitler, I look at Hitler and Kennedy as the two greatest deceivers as far as so-called leaders. Hitler being the so-called, played the evil man in the world stage, and Kennedy playing the role of, the real truth speaker, supposedly, exposing secret societies, when they're both part of the world stage and both just really good deceivers. And so getting back to the whole flat earth topic, I have no problem with Mark Sargent, Rob Skiba, ODD TV is great, Jeranism, all these guys, I've known Celebrate Truth does an amazing job. He does, outstanding work as well. I'm sorry if I forget some others. I have no problems with them, but it's just Eric Dubay. And I tell this to people, go ahead and share his flat earth videos. They're really good. But as far as, his Hitler videos and, pushing everything else he pushes, I'm not, it's mixing truth with lies. That's how I feel like. And that's what I feel like. That's what I see. And that's what I tell people. But again, I don't dislike Eric Dubay. I don't hate Eric Dubay. I just don't like that he's mixing truth with lies. And I know he's doing it as part of pulling people in with flat earth truth, then sucking them in with Hitler lies. And people are falling for it. The world's a stage. There's nothing, listen, the people that are so-called truth seekers, there's nothing new under the sun. If you think Hitler's a hero, then you're going to think there's some hero on the world stage today when there isn't any. There wasn't any then, there isn't any now. What don't you get about that? People, this is the thing, is people that are mostly atheists or don't believe in a creator, they need a hero, someone to latch onto. They need someone to latch onto, and Hitler is their favorite one now because, he went against the Jew World Order. No, he didn't. He was a Jew himself, and it was part of the deception. His connection with the Vatican. And people talk about, oh, the Vatican this, the Vatican that, they're bad. But look at the connection with the Vatican and Nazi Germany. Okay? Look at the connection with all the Nazis and the Catholic Church. They're connected. Okay, so those people are very hypocritical. They talk about the Vatican being bad, but you see the connection with Nazi Germany and Hitler. Okay, so they need to get their story straight and get their heads screwed on tight, or their heads screwed on right before they consider Hitler some type of hero. And there's people are going to rage and people are going to get upset, but because people don't like the truth. People don't like the truth. You know, they don't like their false illusions destroyed. People hate that. People hate the real truth. And that's why a lot of people hated me for a long time. And I had people come on my channel saying, you know what? I thought you were an absolute nut job a year ago. Now I'm back on your channel.
Every single one of us involved in truth seeking has had people, even family members, say things like, I thought you were a nut job and now I am back. I did some research on what you told me about and now I'm in 100% and I'm trying to teach people. And that's the way we win, not by being at each other's throats.
Yeah, and here's the thing is, and I'm glad you said that. Here's the thing is, am I 100% right in everything I say about every little detail? Nobody is. But I know we're being lied to on a grand scale. Everything, this is a lie system. Now, there might be some things I might be wrong here and there, little things. But for the most part, I'm on target. And most people see that. You know, I've mentioned this, but I'm going to say it now. I wasn't going to spoil, but I'll just say it. I was just interviewed by a Greek TV station about many topics. I had a translator. They asked me. There's a lot of people. Greece is one country that people know that are always fighting the government. There's a lot of protests. A lot of people are awake in Greece. And there's one independent news station there that did interview me about, because I made a video, basically I predicted the London 322 so-called terrorist attack. I pointed out how, you know, on the Westminster Bridge, where basically there's a very quick splice in the footage where the woman's supposedly hit by a car. She's supposedly hit by a car.
Saw that.
Yeah. And I mentioned where the color of the water in the background changes, a very quick splice and manipulation by Reuters. And they saw that. And so basically they contacted me through a translator, a guy that speaks English. And we got, I did a live interview with them on Greek TV. And so that's something that's going to be uploaded later on my channel. But getting to where people are like, oh my goodness, he's on TV again, because I was mentioned on Tosh O with my Flat Earth video. But, you know,
the more people get on mainstream TV, the better. I think it's great.
Yeah, but the thing is this, you're never going to see me interviewed on Fox News, CNN, or MSNBC.
Oh, no.
You'll never see that. But I'm on this, you know, Greek is relatively a small nation. There's only like 11 million people. So the amount of people I'm reaching is getting there. But at the same time, you know, people are going to be questioning, like, oh, he's on my Tosh show. He's interviewing on Greek TV because, you know, the independent source, for example, with this Greek station, they're seeing things that say, hey, wait a second. This guy might have a point here. Let's see what this guy has to say. Here's the thing, too. Daily Mail. They covered my London 322 video, okay? They did not mention or try to debunk anything I said. What they did mention was I have ads running through my video, how Google's making money on it, and I'm a monetized channel. But they did not try to confront or debate anything I said with my video where I pointed out how the water changed or anything like that. So they're trying to go off course. They're trying to, like, they know they have no argument, but
they're undermining you from the side because they can't get you head on. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing is. And, you know, that's the whole thing is. And the truth is this, I'm going to be very blunt here.
We only have about a minute.
Yeah. Well, a minute for what?
A minute till we have to close our show before it closes down on us.
Okay. Oh, that fast. Yeah. The bottom line is this. This is the truth. Sometimes I go too far with the truth where I know it's the truth, but a lot of people that are not awake, if they're new to my channel, they're going to completely reject it because it's so crazy. It's some of the stuff I speak, just like Flat Earth, the discussion of Flat Earth, it's you have to be awake to other topics before you can go to Flat Earth. You got to understand a lot of how politicians are nothing but fakes, phonies. 9/11 is not what we're told, before you can get to Flat Earth. So what I'm getting at is sometimes I go on topics that are too deep for someone that's asleep, and to them it's like it's going to be hard to believe. So sometimes that's something I have to juggle with when I cover certain stories.
Keep on being you. We love it.
Thanks, Patricia.
Thank you so much for spending the time and talking with me today. And I hope we do it again. And I bet we will. I bet we will.
We will, for sure, Patricia. Thanks so much for
Thank
outreaching and
it's Russianvids. In the description box, his 2 channels, and be on the lookout for him doing live hangouts in the future. And I know that I'm going to be in chat watching one of those very soon. This is Patricia Steere, and this concludes episode 152 of Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. And until we meet again, be nice and keep it flat.